15
on my end?
No.
Welcome everyone to number 80. We are on number 80 of the Tesla Beat podcast. We're going to be lapping almost 2 years in the spring. So we'll see. But yeah, we're coming down to the end of the year. As we all know, we've had an insane run up actually towards the end. We're up, 77%. Actually, at one point, I believe we were up. I think we were up 100% since the election. Obviously, I think the highs were something like 470, 480, something like that. So it did kind of trickle off. I think everything is kind of cooling right now after pretty big run-ups since the election. But it's, really, really cool to see. But how's it going, everyone? How are you feeling going into the holiday?
Oh, I'm feeling so terrible. You saw that graph right at the end. It dipped this much. And so, of course, in my comments, everyone is screaming, see, I told you it was going to crash and collapse. My friend, if that's what a collapse looks like, I think you may need a new dictionary.
That's hilarious.
I forgot whose feed it was. It's probably better I don't. But they did say, like, hey, this has been an insane run up. This is the time if you need to pull some money out. This was the time, and that was at like the peak of like 480. Just because like if you're borrowing on margin and all that junk, not that you should be doing that, but it's true. I mean, it did trickle off a little bit, but not.
Well, Warren Redlick had a video about that, about like if you were to take profits or stuff like that. He was like, yeah, it's something I don't really do. You know what I mean? I'm invested for the long term, but it was a cool video.
Definitely. All right, well, let's get into it. So first off, Brian's face became somewhat famous. Well, it was already famous, but it was even more famous this past week.
Famous, sir.
So I think, Brian, you highlighted your experience at like 2 a.m. You dropped the video for some insane reason. But tell us, about, what this video was, and then obviously Elon's take and all that.
It was, well, so I'm sitting there at home and I'm about to go to bed and I get the notice that an update is available. And yes, it is V13. So I install it and I mention it on X and people are like, oh, you have to make a video. I'm not in the early release pool. I'm in the wide release pool, but I got it at the early end of it. So I got to strike while the iron's hot. I went out. It handled my flashing red light, the stop sign. It treated it as a stop sign instead of a stop light. That was great. It got to my no right on red. It stopped, which it usually does not do. I've replicated it since. It stops every time as it's supposed to. It did a whole bunch of things that I hoped it would do and a bunch of things I didn't know and didn't expect it to do. So I came back. I immediately got the video uploaded, posted it, and it was the middle of the night. And John, you were gracious enough to repost it with some of my thoughts that I'd shared with you. And this gentleman who has, I don't know, a space company or something, did retweet it and comment on it saying, this is just the beginning. I don't remember the exact words, but it was something like that. So that was a kind of a start of a crazy big day for me. My X was blowing up all day. So
wonder why.
Who was the person who commented?
I want to say it was Elon something. I don't remember. And it's crazy because
could be anyone.
I get so many fake Elons that when I saw the real one, I was like, well, that's, I mean, that could be anybody.
How did you know it was the real Slim Shady? No, I mean, real Elon.
You got to look for the affiliate badges, you guys.
Yeah.
So I know, so Hans, you've been just talking FSD 13 until, your beard grew even another 10 inches. But, what have you been hearing about FSD from, you've even had a couple podcasts with, people like AI Driver, Chuck, just everybody. What have your thoughts been and how you've seen this and the videos you've watched? What's been your analysis on it?
Yeah, the level of execution that Tesla AI is at right now is just exceptional. And we knew that this year when they shipped version 12, that like the promise was that a full end-to-end neural network architecture was going to be the architecture that was finally going to scale all the way through the March of Nines to the point where we could make this an unsupervised FSD product. And of course, when you first roll out that new architecture, it's tough. It's a whole new way of doing things. There's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of a thing. And that's what version 12 felt like at first. It only went to Omar for a long time, and then it kind of slowly expanded to a few other people. Then JD got it, and um, we had this massive hope, but it seemed like, well, I don't know if this is really going to scale. And the level of progress from those days to version 13 wide release by the end of the year. So in less than 12 months, we shipped our first end-to-end neural network FSD system to customers, to the first customers, just to Omar. From there, all the way to 1 year later, having FSD version 13 in the hands of most people who have AI for Teslas, and the level of human-like driving that version 13 is doing today. And this is like, version 13 is going to continue to get better. This is the first version of V13 that is going wide to customers. It's going to continue to get better and better. It really looks like, if you just connect the dots and plot the points from where we were to where we are today, I think that Elon could be on the money when he says that we're going to surpass better than human driving in the middle of 2025. Okay. He's said that a lot of times. And to be frank, I've thought he was full of shit a lot of times when he said that in the past. This time I actually believe that we're on that path. And maybe it's not in June. Maybe it's in August or September, or God forbid, December of 2025, when we have cars that drive better than humans.
I'm going to jump back in and say I am with you all the way on this. I'll be even more optimistic and say, based on the progress I've seen over the last year and a half, that even if the pace of improvement slows by 75%, that would still suggest it may be solved in the next 12 months, because it has moved so quickly from, in my case, not usable to very usable. On versions 12, I said, this is it. I can't live without this. My next car must have this. To version 13, where I'm looking at it saying the number of gaps left to close is almost none. So it is, it could take longer to become unsupervised due to regulation or just general caution and safety, because we don't know what the code is and does necessarily. We have to observe it to see a lot of the behaviors emerge, and it may take a lot of miles to do that. But how would your life be different if the Wright brothers had first flown 1 year earlier? I'm going to argue your life would be the exact same today. So when you're watching history unfold, a couple months either way often is not the deciding factor on what happens in the future.
Yeah, I'll echo all of that, because driving it right now, it's a lot better than most of the humans I drive around already. So I can definitely see the improvement, and I use it all the time. I'm like, just the hand once it went hands free, that was it for me. Like that, I mean, it's incredible at that point. So yeah, I love it.
I would say, again, there's still a few gaps that make it not better than a bad human driver. I was in a parking lot at night, and it couldn't find the exit. So it just screamed at me, the red flashing wheel on the screen saying, "You got to take over." I'm like, "You can't find your way out, little buddy? That's all right. You'll get it next time."
Yeah, I think for myself, so I finally I'm not part of the early access program since I pretty much upgraded my full lineup this year. But my wife got it, and then my Cybertruck actually got it kind of around the same time. Long story short, I didn't really actually have time to drive it in my Model X. But when I got it in my Cybertruck, I will say that the Cybertruck has had, several issues, and I think one of them has kind of been stopping, to be honest. It sometimes gets really close, and what actually will happen is it will flash red, like take over immediately. for me, this drive is starting to feel kind of like back in my Model X days, my 2018 Model X days, where you pretty much just sit back, you let it run its course. It has really gotten that much better. I was driving through, we were up at Tesla yesterday, in the evening time, and just swinging by, and I took it home, and it was going through the hills of Palo Alto, all the way through Los Altos, pretty much like in areas. Actually, there was, some streets over by their 3500 Deer Creek Road our engineering headquarters. And there's actually like ravines where you could fall off. So it's like if you're not paying attention. And so, but it handled that whole area very well. And then all the way home, which was another 35 minutes. So, I would say I would agree with what everyone is saying, that V13 really is a huge step forward. It's becoming more and more smooth. The one thing about the Cybertruck I don't see, though, is the park to park. So I think that's the big difference. So I was like looking for that. I was taking it to the supercharger, but I guess that's not available. It's also partially because actual Smart Summon isn't available in the Cybertruck yet. But I will say that this is getting to, really good levels. And I do think that what you're seeing, when I went to Tesla the other day, it was just interesting to see just their culture, right? The way that they work together. You see rows and rows and lines of just like the team just collaborating. And no one has like the old historical cubicles. It's just an open format. And that's how they're working and talking and getting stuff done. And the place was buzzing because they enforce everyone coming to work on a regular basis, right? So I think, this is the team that's going to do it. I think we heard the Google CEO as well in the past week talk about how, Tesla is the leader, and, Waymo is up there too. They're like the top two leaders. But as we know, it's even if Waymo discovers it, how are they going to scale a very high cost business and system? But more importantly, Tesla, the way that they're tackling it is more from a general basis, which is great, because if they have issues, I'm making this up, if they had to do something specific for San Francisco, they could. I don't think they will, because they want to do the more general autonomy. But I'm personally really excited. I think there's going to be a slide later on where it shows us how your Tesla has gone better, your Model 3 has gone better since 2021, and it's truly amazing what this company's doing. Brian, I would
add some context on the Google story. The CEO actually said the headline that was written by the publication said that Tesla is the leader, and what he actually said is Tesla is a leader along with us, and the two of us are in a class by ourselves with everyone far behind. And I would say that's good for you if you believe that. I know Joe and I had a chat about it on X in public where I was saying that there's only a few counties in the country where Waymo is better. And he said, I don't think they are better. I said, well, they are driverless, but their scaling issue, like you said, John, is problematic. It's problematic to LiDAR map every millimeter of the planet is a challenge.
100%. So yeah, I think 13 is amazing, and ultimately it is a step change. One thing Tesla released this morning, it's a 2024 look back. So we'll watch part of this video. I don't think we're going to run through the whole thing. I had Joe speed it up a little bit, but we're going to watch it, and then I would love to just get your thoughts. I don't think I think we all live in this stuff on a regular basis. So it's probably sometimes hard to kind of look back, but I thought that this would be, just given the video dropping when it did, that this would be a good time to just also get the panelists' comments on 2024. All right. So that was I
Yeah.
mean,
That was intense.
Yeah.
that was because you could unpack probably each one of those in like a 2 or 3 minute session.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I'm a Cybertruck owner, I'm going to be selfish. Them achieving gross margin positive so quickly was probably one of the highlights of the year. But let's kick it off. Whoever would like to step in first, just giving their thoughts.
That was the only new bit of information to me, was that Cybertruck being actually achieving gross margin positive or margin positive. I'm not surprised by that. And any of the other things, those are all just good news that we've been following all along. You know, it's crazy to see how other companies struggle to do any of these things. Nobody else is building out their own charging network. I mean, Ford's got some, and then they kind of just said, "Oh, it's a lot of work. Let's partner." Rivian's got their adventure network. So much work. We got to partner. And Tesla's just crushing it.
Yeah, I think with Tesla having the lead they had on the charging network, I think it helped a lot. I think it was just one of those type of things where they're just, as with Tesla all the time, their hand is forced, and they realize that, well, we need it and nobody else is going to do it, so let's just do it. And that worked out well for them, as we can see. Like, I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? So it seems like, why wouldn't you? But it's good that they did, and it's good that it's become a standard, and now that everybody can use it. I was like John said, we were at the headquarters yesterday, and it was pretty awesome. When I came home, I stopped at a supercharger, and a Ford Mach-E pulls up to charge, and I was like, this is the way. This is how it should be. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of information in there. I like the expanding of the supercharger network. I think that kind of goes unnoticed a lot until you realize, like, if you road trip, like I know, like me and Brian do, then you end up finding, like, okay, well, that wasn't there before, and wow, I don't even have to stop at this stop now. It's like they've been adding a lot of superchargers.
It's easy to overlook. You know your routes, you know your neighborhood, and most people charge at home most of the time. And yeah, if they added 1,000 new chargers but none on your route to work, how would you ever know?
Hans, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think the big items for 2024, and I'll go in reverse order. It's incredibly important what they have achieved this year on Tesla Energy, ramping up Lathrop, showing the profitability of Tesla Energy business. Factor that in on top of everything that they've achieved with the supercharger network. That's a big deal, but really, and it's going to get to be a bigger deal over the course of the year. But to me, the biggest achievements by far are shipping FSD version 12, shipping FSD version 13, building out the Cortex AI cluster, and using that to dramatically and rapidly improve the quality of the full self-driving software. The future of Tesla is as a software business, and you need a software engine to earn software revenues. That's what FSD is laying the groundwork for. That's what it's going to become over the coming years. So it's an incredibly important year for execution on that front. And then the incredible continued progress on Optimus layered in on top of that, and the halo effect, the umbrella effect that's going to create as an option for even continued rapid growth of earnings of Tesla for the next decade and then some. We between what they showed off on 1010 that the Optimus can already do, the 22-degree freedom hand that looks to be one of the best hand designs that any of the humanoid robot companies have shown us yet. And then the video that we saw the other day of Optimus walking on uneven terrain, slipping, being able to catch its balance, like all of those things are incredibly important developments that show us that they know how to build these real world AI products, and that real world embodied AI intelligence is going to be the most important platform shift of the next decade. And Tesla is in one of the pole positions on that. They're going to face fierce competition, but they are just in a league of their own. And 2024 for me showed the chops, the understanding of the core technologies that they have to lead in order to be leaders in that field in the future. Execution, transparency on all those things are all top-notch, incredible. And I just could not be more pleased with what Tesla has accomplished in 2024.
Yeah, I think for me, 2024, and I think actually I would love to still circle back around with Brian. I think, I don't know if you actually hit like what your top moment for 2024 was, but for me, I think a couple of things. It's really the robot, right? I think if any of us thought 4 years ago that Tesla would be making robots and even maybe further than that, like it just was not top of mind. Obviously, we knew that they were making a moving robot, but I never would have thought that, that they would literally be building a humanoid. And what they've shown this year, the bot walking blindfolded, catching itself, almost getting the full human capabilities in the hand. Most bots are not even trying to tackle that. They kind of just make it like a straight hand, and then it's like you attach it and like you move something, kind of like for like moving burgers or toast or something like that, right? I think also too, all of the stuff that they were able to land for AI, with actual smart summon, self-parking, and then the full connection of park to park, especially what you're seeing. I mean, what this company is doing, and I think the funny thing is, and really kind of more of like the highlight for Tesla, but also too, really Elon in itself is this was one of, there's been many hard years, don't get me wrong, for Elon. But this year, what you saw, the stock going negative 40%, him getting involved in politics, and everyone just reaming him and continuing to negative headlines, continuing to talk about how he needs to shut his mouth and do all those things. For the team to accomplish all that, be heads down, laser focused, not worrying about what the stock price is necessarily and what's going on outside of the company. For them to accomplish all of this just shows that the incredible team that he has stood up there, and really just also his vision and what he's able to lay out for people and how they are willing to get behind his mission and what he's doing to really execute. So again, you could say that probably every year, but this year I think was, I know Hans, you and Brian could speak a lot more of this on like viewership and everything else and how it was like a hard year, especially when the stock was just bad. But this year, it was all about, in how it's ending since like November 5th. And again, not really political, but it's just like stock going up almost 100%, crypto, all that other stuff. It's just, and then what the team continues to accomplish. And I haven't even talked about the Cybercab and the Robovin, and then potentially, the Model Y coming out next year. But it's just like all that stuff. It's just, it's really, really exciting what this company is doing. And it just continues to impress me to just see how hard this team works.
So my highlights for the year would be Cybertruck ramping. I know it just happened so gradually that we didn't notice the water starting to boil. But it's a big deal. It's outselling. It's the number one selling electric truck in the world, and also the newest, unless you count the Silverado. Okay, the Silverado's newer. The version 13, huge deal. And you're right. When the stock is down, traffic, viewership tends to be down, makes for some tough months, some tough decisions have to be made. But really, for me, the biggest highlight would have to be the Cybercab. When I saw it, I loved it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was neat. I thought it was far from final. And then we got to meet the engineers. And we got to find out that this is very much the final design. This is as close to the final design as the Cybertruck was to the prototype. It's going to look like this. All these features. I said the wheels are never going to be that big. They said they absolutely are. And here's why. And I reported that, and people didn't necessarily believe it. I didn't understand it. So I brought on this morning I had on a wheel entire expert from Fast Wheels to help explain rolling resistance and why these choices make sense. And what this taught me was their engineers really do think of everything. That's why we get these little updates that you'll show later in the show where your car just keeps getting better. Because if you and I can think of it, they can think of it. They drive these cars too. And if it's something like, one thing that I don't think was on the list that was a big deal to me was, if you come home under 50% of your normal charge limit and you forget to plug in, you'll get a reminder on your phone. Hey man, did you mean to plug in? Oh yeah, I did. Thank you. And you know that was an engineer who forgot to plug in and just got tired of having to deal with it.
Yeah. Joe, I'll pass this one to you. This is something our friend Gary showcased.
Yeah. So Tesla had a thing happening in Canada where they were entertaining delegates in this Neuro conference. It's pretty cool. They had Optimus out there doing a whole bunch of different maneuvers. You can show the video because I gave John the video. Checking a watch. A DJ. The zombie.
With that, it sort of the next
When I saw the hand motion of the bartender on the footage of the Cybercab event, my first thought was, because it was a little blurry, I was like, oh, that's obviously a person in a suit, because those hands are too real in terms of the motion. And then you could see the wrist and you realize that's not a person.
Yeah, no, it's pretty incredible, and I think we're all going to have so much fun with our robots. It's pretty awesome.
Why are you shouting?
Excuse me?
I forgot to mute the thing, but it's also good to have that. But yeah, I think here it's dancing.
Well, and that fluidity we're seeing, I'm now seeing it in the other robot, the car itself. On version 13, I'm no longer getting stoplight whiplash, which was something that it was doing quite a bit on version 12. It comes to stop signs and stoplights so smoothly, smoother than I would, which is what you need for a autonomous vehicle. People need to feel confident and comfortable.
Yeah,
definitely. One other big set of news this week as well I thought not this one. So as we know, Palo Alto has also done the same thing. Palo Alto, California, they've asked, Tesla asked them, hey, we want to do some testing as well. They're doing it now in the city of Austin, which makes sense because that is their headquarters. And, actually, to be honest with you, they may be able to do a lot more testing and potentially in Texas. We'll see. I know a lot of the engineers are based out of here, but I wouldn't be surprised if more of them will be going over there to do some of this testing, because you're seeing it happen around Gigafactory, Texas right now. Whereas I think pretty much in California or the Fremont factory, they don't have that big open area where they can circle it like they can in Texas. That you have to go on streets for most of the parts outside of maybe the track, but even the track is just a one circle, right? So this is big. I mean, you're starting to see them continue to make moves. They're clearly, they have the confidence now to really, start dealing with regulators and city officials to start making, the testing happening, and then going from there as they continue to use, FSD unsupervised to get where they need it to be. So that's the crazy thing, is they have millions of cars, essentially working for them, providing data back to them while they get to work on, the regulations and with city officials to get the stuff ready to be actually like officially tested. And who knows, maybe with Trump, a lot of the federal regulation can be opened. There's a lot of opportunity there, but we'll see.
The only regulation I see that's very annoying, and I posted about this on X this morning, is that we're still calling over-the-air updates recalls, and that is something it is time to adjust. Let's fix that. That's dumb. The beauty of testing the Cybercab at Giga Texas is they've got almost every kind of road situation you would want. They've got divided roads, higher speed ones, lower speed ones. They've got a massive parking garage to test in. They've got obstacles, pedestrians, and best of all of them are employees. These are all people who are already aware of what this is. You don't have any children or pets in this area to worry about. You've even got a boring tunnel to test. So you've got everything you would need except a stoplight. It doesn't have one of those. It's got a big roundabout. And if you want to actually move people, great. Tell the employees they can use the app and summon it to get around the property. It's got so many things going for it.
Well, and I expect to see them roll this out probably similar to what they're doing in California right now, with the employees being able to use a robo-taxi network that does have a safety driver in it for the time being. But in the Bay Area, they're doing that for Tesla employees, and probably, maybe some other Elon employees as well. It's probably going to be something similar that launches in Austin, Bastrop, kind of the area surrounding the Austin Gigafactory, that they'll provide transportation to and from the factory for a lot, and they have a lot of employees there. Like, there's quite a fleet that they can operate and only ever interact with Elon Musk employees right there. And so hopefully that's going to be something that the city will allow sooner rather than later. That way we can accelerate the launch of this and the data gathering and ironing out all of the kinks in the system. And to be able to do that here in Texas, as well as doing that there in California, will be a win for, both states.
Joe, to you on this one.
Yeah, China now having apps is pretty awesome. I think this is like one of the things that I don't think a lot of people expected, and I mean we're gonna show a few slides later where, well, I think I should the next slide, but I don't think people expected this. I mean, Switzerland also has some stuff happening, but for China to have ASS is pretty cool.
I didn't expect it. Not this early.
Yeah, I think this is, I think we're starting to see a lot more happening. I mean, it's Switzerland again. I know that they run a little bit differently, but I think it'll be really cool to see it. Hopefully some of these countries start to open up, because again, but also too, China, it's crazy because China's, really the biggest auto market in the planet. So for them to be able to get this capabilities, again, I don't think like XPeng and BYD and all these other companies are able to do something like this yet, but I don't live out there. But
Well, we don't know the particulars of, how much special training they had to do to launch this product in China relative to the United States. But I'll say that it at least suggests that their solution to the actually smart summon problem here in the United States scales easily internationally, and that they didn't have to do a whole lot of special, like new training runs for the algorithm that's going to do actually smart summon in China compared to the United States. That the first principles solution to actually smart summon just works. And if that's the case, I think that's as big, if not bigger, than the achievement that they were able to get regulatory approval in China as well, which is also a big and momentous achievement, because that means that, from a first principle standpoint, if the solution to actually smart summon is a general worldwide solution that just works, then that means that really the only holdup for launching this globally, not just in the United States and China, is essentially zero.
No, I agree with that 100%, and I like what you said about having having a generalized solution. Clearly, they were able to make it work very fast. When even here in our own homestead, we don't even have it on the Cybertruck. So I think there's something to be said for that, for them to be able to just do that for China, like shortly after it was done here. So I think it might be just that simple. Like it just works. You know what I mean? When no matter where you are, it just works. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Well, I think anyone who's had FSD for a time has had situations where they encounter a brand new road, one that may not even be complete yet, and the car just it's like, yeah, fine, whatever. I mean, just like a person, I'll drive through it, I guess.
So the next slide here is China ranks first in global Tesla sales. I think this is pretty cool because you realize, I mean, well, we realize because we're in it every day. Like Tesla is selling a lot of vehicles, and China is spearheading a lot of those sales. And so as we approach this 515 golden number at the end of the year, you know, we realize that China has a lot to play in that. But just looking at the other countries, it's kind of really abysmal. It's like,
It's shocking. The U.S. is a big country and kind of a rich country. I know it doesn't always feel like it, but when you
Canada, though, Canada is a lot of land.
a lot of land doesn't buy as many cars as people, it turns out. But Canada is only roughly the population of what, California, something like that.
Oh, wow.
It is pretty empty, relatively speaking. A little bit cold. Yeah. What surprised me is Germany is a very large market, but when you look at the chart, it's really not that big compared to the U.S., to China. But again, bigger countries with a whole lot of people and a lot of them with money. You move some units.
It's incredible.
Yeah, the Chinese auto market is multiple times larger than the U.S. auto market, and so I think
More
there's
than double.
there's still quite a bit of room for growth for Tesla. Although a large portion of that market is cars that we don't even allow on roads here in the United States,
Yeah.
and so once Tesla releases these next generation models that are going to be cheaper, easier to manufacture, then that market share should even continue to grow. There's no reason that Tesla China can't be 1.5, 2 times the number of sales that we have here in the US.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. Just a heads up, the stock is up for anybody who's wondering. I don't follow it daily, but I know a lot of people might. So
we are above above the previous close.
we're
rich.
rich.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. I have a viewer who was very excited because he loaded up on shares in March, and he said, I knew I was going to sell the shares around now to get a Tesla. I just didn't realize my Tesla would be free.
That's amazing. Holy
That's
cow.
awesome.
Next slide. Charge faster than ever. Map required. So this is pretty cool. Tesla Charging put this out, and I thought this was pretty awesome to be able to see that the V4 cabinets. Like I know that was like a big thing. They had the chargers, but the cabinets weren't really upgraded. And there's a list here to tell you exactly. I mean, more are coming, but clearly they are. Some of these places I've never even heard of, but I mean, it's pretty wild that I looked on a map on some of these and I was just like, this is kind of in the middle of nowhere for it to be like trucky. like it's like that's where you put the V4 cabinet? Like what? It's got to be near someone's home, like someone's family member or something for Tesla.
Interestingly, the Tacoma one, I think, might be a new location I saw when I was going through the area recently. We were looking for a charger, and we saw that there were 3 within like a block or 2 of the mall. And I thought,
Wow.
that's quite a density. But I'm guessing one of them is new.
Next slide. Oh, did you have something, Hans? Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think for me, just seeing, just being able to see Tesla continue to just make improvements. Because again, why should they be continuously upgrading their charge rate per kilowatt hour? Like they don't need to do all that. I mean, they're already the kingpin when it comes to their charging network. But that's the amazing thing about this is that, obviously, as we know, there's still going to be a lot of superchargers that may not be able to charge up to like that 325 kilowatts on the V4s. Because obviously the map is going to tell you essentially where can you go to get those rates, but it really is amazing. And also too, it is nice that I think isn't there some news that it can potentially charge up to 500 kilowatts as well, hours as well. So it's just like it's going to be really really exciting. Sorry, yeah, 500 kilowatts, not kilowatt hours, but it's really exciting to see, all of these improvements, and they're just continuously happening, and they're not only happening here, but they're happening globally. So, and the one thing I will shout out to the team for these V4 stalls, because when there's non-Teslas coming in, it makes it go super smoothly. They can park any direction, and they're not blocking two stalls. So the cord is big enough to get wherever it needs to go, to the front of the car, to the other side of the car, wherever it needs to go. It's perfect. All right, Joe, to you.
Yeah, Shanghai has lost its song. So the factory head over there at in Shanghai has left the company. He put out a letter, and it's kind of, I mean, who knows what he's going to do. I mean, there was like no other information about it, but I thought that was interesting. I don't know if Brian has any information.
I don't have more information. Song Gang departed as head of the factory. That's not a big deal. The whole, China operations are under Tom Zhu, and those are very capable hands. He is the Magi of Shanghai. He makes the magic happen.
And yeah, congratulations to Mr. Song Gang. Like the execution of Shanghai over the last couple years has been very strong. But that team is also an extremely strong team, so I'm not worried about the future execution of Shanghai. And there's a lot of growth ahead. I'm sure that with some of the plans that Tesla and Elon have for the growth of operations in China in the coming years, that's probably a big lift that's about to come down the pipe. And if you've kind of been in the trenches and you're ready to take a break and you're looking at, wow, it's going to get more intense, not less, that's a lot of time that when you'll see a few executive departures and you'll see some people step up into those roles. And most of the time, whoever it is that steps into those roles does an exceptional job, and if not, then they'll get swapped out again. But the depth of the bench there is exceptional, and we should continue to see great things out of Tesla China.
Yeah, no doubt. You always know there's the next up person has been waiting for this moment. So
yeah, the one thing I will say is that one thing that Joe and we actually nibbled on this yesterday, because obviously, as we know, Elon's been working on Doge, but the type of person that Tesla hires, right? It's a type of person that not only are they hiring the smartest and most brilliant people on the planet, but they're hiring the most hardest working people, the people that are not just okay with like, oh, I got this done this week. It's like, no, it's like, I got this done, on to the next. And they're just thirsty to get things done. And because he set up that type of culture, when you have people that kind of come and go, because that will happen. And also too, there's a lot of executives, I mean, again, knocking on wood, because I hope a lot of these executives will stay there a long time, even though a lot of them are doing very well now. But it goes to show not only they're potentially that they're there for the mission and to also work with the greatest entrepreneur and engineer of our lifetime, but it's the work ethic. They don't settle. They want to see a lot of this come to fruition. They want, but that's really what you see, and that's why this company can operate, cross-functioning with their VPs, Elon, obviously, at this point, especially given all the stuff he's doing, he's still involved in the areas like auto or like FSD and some of the other areas that are gonna really show his interest. But a lot of it is kind of like what he does when he set it up with Linda and when he set it up with Gwen at SpaceX and X. You know, these companies, they're operating because of the culture, and that is what makes it just so amazing to see that happen. So again, you know, I'm not too worried about this person leaving. Obviously, you know, they've had a lot of major contributions, but the reality is that, you know, Tesla's just going to continue to keep moving.
Here we are. This is so Tesla put this out. If you bought a Model 3 in 2021, these are features that it has received since then, all free over-the-air updates. And I think, like, people need to understand that, yeah, your car's gotten better, but Tesla does this for freaking free. People are buying cars for years and never expected it to get better. What you bought was what you got, and you were just stuck with that. If it lasted you 10 years, then you had a 10-year-old car that just lasted 10 years. But continually giving you yearly updates, you know what I mean, and making improvements on the fly, like however often they do, is I think it's just really kind of an understated thing and kind of expected, especially from the Tesla community. We're just kind of like, hey, when's the next update? Like, calm down, it was free. Like, you know what I mean? Like their
And
plate is
automatic.
full, right? And it just happens.
Yeah. So I reposted this saying, hey, anybody out there, has your car ever gotten better after you purchased it for free automatically? And the answer, and some people said not for free and not automatically, but I was able to purchase a new GPS CD to install. I was able to go into the dealership and get something fixed that didn't work right. And that is not the same thing. Oh, and I did want to add that my concern would be, we've seen some people in the past, Wall Street types, try to get on the board of directors. If they were on the board of directors, my fear is that they would try to monetize this. And I will sell you all of these little updates, even if they're $20 or $50, microtransactions, if we must. And what that would do is make for a worse ownership experience. It would erode customer loyalty and brand loyalty and satisfaction overall. And you would end up with 100 different software forks, all of which need to be validated independently. It'd be a mess. So it wouldn't actually make more money. It would just make more money in one column while costing more in a different column.
And the only thing I wanted to point to there was, like, look at the list in 22, 23, and 24. It keeps growing. Like, they ship more features each year on year. And so, I mean, just imagine how much better these cars are going to get in 2025.
And this list isn't even complete. It's not even like an exhaustive list.
Yeah, wait till they start shipping even. Well, they listed the holiday update, but yeah, I would agree. I mean, just just looking at this graphic, it's not like it's dwindling. And I remember, shout out to the VW ID4 people. You know, I think they haven't even received. Have they even received an update yet? No, I think since the release up until maybe recently, you know, that car's been out several years now and they've never gotten one software update. I definitely, so feel free to fact check me if that's happened recently, but I know that historically that they had not received one. And so what Tesla is doing is they're making, as we all know, it's like your phone. It just gets better. The difference is that, unlike, let's say, and this is not throwing shade at Apple, it's just, I don't know. But either way, with Apple, it's like the problem is that as their updates as you get more updates, probably, let's say on like your iPhone, it does potentially wear your battery a little bit. I mean, like, you do get to a point where it's like, all right, I really need to upgrade. With your Tesla, I mean, you will see some of those choke points, maybe with the hardware 3 versus hardware 4. Again, it's still TBD on some of that stuff. But what you can clearly see is that Tesla has built an infrastructure where your car can get better with just a simple software update, with really no limits. You know what I mean? It's like, I think you're seeing this on maybe on your 2018 Model X. Like I had a legacy one. I was seeing a big choke neck, a bottleneck there, where I wasn't getting a lot of those updates. But once they, once you're on the Model 3, Model Y kind of like, hardware, that's where, you will see a lot of those continued upgrades. And so it's just, it's really impressive what they've done here. Joe.
So a lot of people made a big deal out of the Nissan Honda thing because, man, poor Nissan. Like if you had a time machine and you saw the Nissan Leaf and you thought, man, in 10 years they're gonna be freaking crushing it on battery vehicles, you would have been poorly mistaken, and your investment would have netted you a great failure. But what I wanted to do is highlight that this is something that is not new. Like you got Toyota merging with BMW for some things, GM and Hyundai and Rivian and Volkswagen. Like we are going to see this a lot. This is what happens when you don't start as early as you should have. And Tesla is proving that. Like a lot of these companies, their leads like made fun of Tesla back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago when they were doing it. And every single one of these people had a Tesla killer. And I actually remember Audi having ads, stating that. And you know what I mean? And now it's like, look at what's happening. It's pretty wild. I'm interested to see what you guys say.
So 10 to 15 years ago, they were right to make fun of Tesla. Tesla was probably not going to make it, probably not going to survive. Yeah, Nissan and Honda joining forces. Quick question, which one of them brings any EV prowess to the game? Because the Prologue is a Chevy Blazer with CarPlay, and the Aria is fine. It's an okay car. It's not winning any awards, nor beauty contests, which is kind of Nissan's thing when it comes to EVs. So I don't know what's... I hope that two wrongs make a right in this case, but I am not convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been obvious that these companies are going to struggle more and more. The consolidations are inevitable. The resulting consolidated companies are also still going to struggle. I mean, this is a dying industry. The future of what that looks like in the medium term is still up in the air. I think that there can be some big winners who are able to clean up house after a lot of the less fit companies go belly up first and have some assets that they can acquire for pennies on the dollar and maybe do something interesting with. But yeah, I don't think Honda and Nissan are at the top of the list of companies that have a good shot of surviving over the next 50 years.
So let me ask you something, Brian and Hans and John. Like, why is that though? Like, as we can see from Tesla, the vehicles sell. Like even in China, like BYD. I mean, these vehicles are selling. So how come they're having these problems? How come they can't move the units? It doesn't make any sense.
Because their businesses are built from the ground up. It's like, why did the dinosaurs not survive when the meteor hit Earth? And then like there were still some dinosaurs that were around. They they didn't all die, but they just were not fit for a radical new environment. And it's the planning cycles, the organizational architecture of these companies, the way that they silo engineering from manufacturing, from the MBAs, like just everything about these businesses is not fit for the age of tomorrow.
Well, I'll give you an example that's less than 300 million years old. The problem you see, so look at the S and X, they both have 18650s. Why? Why haven't they moved on to 2170s or 4680s? Because it's the way we've done it, and it's easier than changing. We could change it, but it would cost money and it'd be difficult. These companies have nothing but bad habits built into the entire system at every step. They're good at making gas cars and selling them at a profit. And every car that Tesla sells is a car that someone else doesn't. But every Nissan Ariya that Nissan sells is a profitable gas car they didn't sell. So do we really want to scale up these cars on which we're losing money or making so little that it's barely worth mentioning, when all it's going to do is erode our existing sales? So they're stuck. They're chained to themselves. They are their own anchor. And it's makes it really hard to shift gears and do the new thing. Unless you are in some markets required to. BYD struggles to sell their cars at a profit, and they've got absolutely ridiculous volume. They're going to move. They're moving up on the biggest player in the world, and they will. I mean, right now it looks like they're poised to be the first, disruptive company to get that kind of title. So why can't they make a profit at those kind of scales? It's really hard to do. The analysts that said when the legacy guys come along with their full lineup of Tesla killers, it'll be over because they'll flip a switch and make cars that are better, cheaper, faster, more range, all of it than this little company out of California. And it turns out it's really complicated and you have to think about things in a whole new way, and they just can't.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. It's what happens with, it's the whole frog analysis, right? When you think of boiling water, it's like if you have the frog jump in the water while it's boiling, obviously they're going to jump out. But if you put lukewarm water and put the frog in and then you boil it, obviously we knows what happens. It dies. And I think that's ultimately what's happened with Legacy Auto is they got way too comfortable. Here is this little company, some guy who started some PayPal transactions, started this company with a couple other people. And, everyone was overlooking it. And now what you're seeing is, in my opinion, and that's why we don't need these tax incentives that are going to be going away. If they do go away, it's because ultimately, in my opinion, is that EVs are going to win out. It is the better vehicle overall. Even if people will have options, like when you think of buying a Tesla Model 3 versus a Corolla, it's just the new Model 3, the Model Y, that is the new Toyota Camry, that's the new CR-V. I mean, it's just the natural decision because it is the best product. The cost of maintenance is cheaper over a 5-year period. And so thankfully, they've made such a great product. But yeah, I would say a lot of them have been sleeping. We saw it with Toyota. They were trying to do the hydrogen cell for the longest time. They even lost their CEO. But again, there's been a lot of ripples. You saw it at VW. There's been a lot of ripples there. I think their previous CEO, who was actually like warming up to Elon, that they should have kept him, but they got rid of him. And then I think they just got rid of the one that replaced him. So it's one of those things where, yeah, the failure is really just reflecting in the mirror because you got too comfortable like that frog. And now you got to talk mergers and being able to scale an EV profitably is a completely different story, which is kind of unimaginable. And most of these companies cannot do it. I mean, you're seeing even companies that are doing it at volume, like BYD, they can't do it profitably.
Wow. What a great episode, you guys.
Say hi. Right.
Say hi to your Tesla when you get the chance.
Exactly.
It'll say hi back.
Only gotten better since this call. All right. Well, yeah, we're wrapping up the year. It was great. We didn't get into the upbeat, so shout out to Joe for prepping the deck. Thank Hans and also to FutureAza. We've added his referral code into the bio if you're watching on YouTube. So make sure you've done that. FutureAza already has too many, so he didn't want to give it to us. It's what it looks like when you're not sending out lemons, you're making lemonade. So follow their channels. Their hashtags are on X as well. Follow Joe if you want some good comedy and veteran Cybertruck ownership videos. But all that to say, we hope you have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. And we will see you guys all next Friday at the same time. See you, everyone.
Happy holidays.